Hey everyone, Mike here again, and before it rains maybe, I'm going to do a quick rundown of the Dualomo Bustin Hybrid board. So, I've got it right here. Last video I unboxed it. It had just been made a few days ago. Now I've gotten a couple rides in with it, and I wanted to share some feedback. Some good points, bad points. Do you want one? If you got any questions, just let me know. But I wanted to answer a few of them here. Just first impressions. I have about 20 miles on the board. Had a few rides, a couple charges. So first off, it's very heavy. I mentioned this in my last video. It's a heavy board. So you know, the main thing about this is you can push this board normally. You don't have to worry about battery power. You can push it. But do know that it does not have the lack of rolling resistance that a normal skateboard's going to have. One, because of the weight, it's going to take a little bit to get it rolling. Now that actually helps you once you get rolling, that and the 90mm wheels. However, when you first just push around on this, it is noticeable that it's a very heavy board. If you've come just from skating a normal longboard, the motors do offer some resistance as well, as you can tell, compared to the normal wheels. So you are going to notice it, but once you get rolling, it's not too bad. So the main thing about this is it has the electric power. That's what everybody wants to know about. So you got the board itself, and you have the remote. So I'll get the remote here so you can see it. You're gonna hit the power button and turn it on, and that's going to show your remote, battery, different modes you're in, your top speed, and it'll show my board battery when I get it turned on. So that's going to be your main. You hold it like this and using your thumb to control it. One thing I do like is instead of having to reach down and hit the power button, you can take your board, lay it down, and start pushing. Once you get a couple rotations of the wheel end, it'll kick the board on. Then you just hit your remote and you can connect it, okay? So I'm going to lay the board down here. I'm going to grab the camera, lay that down, and put on the brain bucket. In case there's a horrible filming mishap. Let's throw this on, grab the camera. Okay, so got my remote. Where it wasn't connected for a few minutes there, it turned off, so I'm going to turn it back on. And I'm going to push on the board a few times. Now it will connect. So now you have the battery power and everything showing, the speeds showing. And I'm just pushing right now. I'm not rolling with the electric assist. So I'm just cruising. This is a little bit downhill. This is a little downhill. This is kind of flat. I'm just cruising along. Now, this is a Sportster, and if you've ever rode one, it's a very low down deck, has a very low center of gravity, and it's close to the ground. It is easy to push. Now, with that in mind, you do have a small trade-off of maneuverability. So you're not going to have as sharp of turns as you normally would with other boards, but it's just a characteristic of the Sportster design. So I've played with the bushings a little bit. It still feels a little tight. I might change some of the bushings out, but it's fairly stable, which, you know, that may be what you want. So if you want it to be a very nice stable board, you've got that already. So I'm pushing along. Let's see, you get tired of pushing. You can push as much as you want. It's not going to hurt the board, or it's not going to regenerate anything unless you use your braking. So if you want to stop, all you gotta do is roll back on this. There are 4 different braking modes. 1, 2, 3, and 4, 1 being the weakest, 5 being the strongest. Now, I still think, even on the lowest setting, that it's a fairly aggressive brake. I wish they had chopped that up a few times and made one a little softer of a brake, and so on and so forth. On 4, it will actually lock up the wheels. So the wheels are at the rear of the board. It's a rear-wheel drive. You can flip it through the remote, but the braking seems very harsh. And on 4, like I said, if you hit max brake, you are going to lock up the wheels. So that could end badly for you. I've only used it on 1, and it's still pretty aggressive. So I do wish it was a little different. I do like the board, but I also want to throw in some criticisms as well, not to just give it all the praise. So I pushed for a little bit, push. All right, let's say I'm getting a little bit winded, a little tired, or let's say I'm going up a slight grade. It's really easy. Just roll on to the controller here, and now I'm not pushing at all. So if you check it out, speed, I got about 4 miles an hour. That's upside down. Thank you. This is on the mode 1. It's going to give you about 5 or 6 miles an hour. Now that's my thumb all the way up on mode 1. Get about 6 miles an hour. You can see, not pushing, just cruising along. It's a nice little easy pace. So what it does when you change the mode, you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, it's changing the range that you have in this wheel. So I'm pushing the wheel all the way, but it is only telling it that it's a certain amount. So I can be holding this up all the way, reach down to hit this gear shift button, go into the second gear, and it's going to automatically pick up the speed. I'm going to back off a little bit, hit gear 2, roll into it, and I'm going to pick up speed. There's 8, 9, 10. There's the intersection here. I am going to slow down with the brake a little bit. And then I'm going to roll back on. So one thing that is going to throw you off with this board is the acceleration and braking, especially if you haven't ridden any sort of electric board before. When you're normally skating and you get ready to push, you're getting your body ready, you're leaning forward, and you're going to push. With this, you're not getting ready, you're just using your thumb, and as a result of that, you might not be ready when you start to accelerate, and it's going to throw you backwards a little bit. The same with braking. When you normally brake on a skateboard, you're leaning down, you're bending your knees, and you're going to hit the brakes with your foot. With this, when you hit the brake, you're not necessarily ready, and you have to have your stance right, and you have to be prepared, because it will sling you right off the front of this board. It's very touchy, like I said, even on the lowest braking setting, you really have to be ready for it. Otherwise, you're going to go off the front. I have done that a few times, just trying to get used to it. I have gotten used to it, so it does get better. It's just something to keep in mind. I'm just cruising right now, curving down the road. Got in mode 2, I'm running about 10 miles an hour. I'm not holding it all the way up, just cruising right along. Trying to film, watch for traffic and everything. Going to an intersection, I can roll on the brakes, stop and check for everything, and then without pushing, I can just roll up on the throttle and roll out of here. So, very cool. A lot of fun. It's cool having any street that you want. You can go through your different gears to 3 to 4. The max speed on this model, which is the X Plus, is going to be around 30 miles an hour. I haven't gotten it up to that speed yet. I have hit, I think I hit 20 something in gear 3. So it is neat though, because you can turn any street you want into a downhill. So that's really cool. like I said, you just have to be careful, because you know, if you're on a street like I am, you got to watch for cars. So anytime you have cars coming around, you got to be ready for that braking. So it's nice having the speed, it's nice having the brakes. You just have to be prepared for it. As far as how it rides, it's pretty sweet. It's a Sportster with big wheels. So it's very stable, and you can just cruise it right along. People look at you funny because you're not really putting any effort into it. So this is a slight incline right here. Bend your knees a little bit. Go on the throttle. It's no big deal. And at any point in time, I can come back to pushing. Someone learning to drive, that's kind of scary. So anytime I want, I can go back to pushing. I can push a few. Cruise right along. Now the estimated range on this is about 15 miles. I've rode at a pretty good distance. I rode about 10 miles all in one go, and I still had about half to 1 bar charge. It's got 4 bars, and as you apply load, it'll kind of go up or down. So it just depends. But I've gotten pretty good range out of it. And like I said, if it does run out, all you gotta do is push it. You can push all you want, and you can still use the brake. So that's pretty nice. You hit a nice downhill, you can still skate all you want, and you have a brake at the other side, which is really handy. But that's just a quick rundown. If you have any other questions, just let me know. I'm gonna get back in before it rains. But the board, I do like it. It's a lot of fun. It's a little different, and it's kind of cool as you can do this, freak people out, and of course the braking again. But that's the Dualomo. Like I said, I only got about 19 miles on it, so more to come. I'll let you know any more feedback that I have, or follow up with any questions. Thank you all.